In the very beginning, my grandmother thought it was best for them to abort me. And it, my mom said, no, can I keep the baby? And this is, this is what we're doing. And they're obviously very grateful. So I wouldn't be here today.
Thanks for watching Recovery Inspired Hope. I am super excited because I have my friend Jared here, who is from the Blacklist podcast. I just got to be on his show. It came out, yesterday? Super excited. Now I get to have him on my show. And he's an amazing, amazing person who has some great dreams and aspirations helping the recovery community. Jared, and where are you out of again?
I am in Oregon, but in 3 weeks, I'm moving back to Arizona.
I want you to tell everybody about your podcast and how they can find it.
At the Blacklist podcast, it's not spelled like a typical blacklist, so it's BLAKLIST. We are on YouTube and Spotify and Anchor as well, and we are trying to get on iTunes and Apple Podcasts as well. As we're on TikTok and Instagram as well at the Blacklist podcast. So we'll put the links up and everything. That would makes it a little bit easier to find.
Absolutely, for sure. I will definitely have that. People were reaching out to me today, like, your story was so awesome. So it's reaching people. We're reaching people, and collectively, out here working on different parts of the earth and being able to reach people. And that is like so awesome. So how did you come up with this idea for the podcast? How was this birthed?
My story to help other addicts. I want everyone to see that if we can do it, so can they. And so for me, it was just something where, I'll be honest, for 2.5 years, I sat on it and I was made an excuse that one day it's going to happen. And finally in maybe September of 2021, I was going through a divorce. I was going through different things. And I was like, it's now or never. Like, this is going to happen or it's not going to happen at all. So I had made a vow that starting January 1st, I was going to jump in, feet first, come hell or high water. It was going to happen. And it has been tremendous growth over the last, 8 months. But yeah, I wanted something that was out there for other people, just to be tools and a resource, and we're all in this community together. There's no need for us to be separate. I think we should all collaborate together. And the more that we can connect together in community is so much better than us trying to see who can get more followers, who can do this, who can do that. So that's kind of essentially how we started, and that's the direction we're heading.
Yes. And the opposite of addiction is connection. So that is, we are stronger together. We say in Georgia Council, nothing about us without us. And I just absolutely love you and Bonnie. Like, I had so much fun being on your podcast and collaborating with you guys. So I also want to encourage anybody, if you have a story you want to share, to please reach out and share your story with Jared and Bonnie. You will not regret it. And you'll have an amazing time. Well, I feel like there's such a freedom in sharing your story. So you're getting free and you get to have fun at the same time and help so many people.
No, it does. I agree. It's just, I've always been, I always say, don't be ashamed of your recovery. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Hold your head up proud and recover out loud, walk, just, run that. And just because we made it out the depths of hell, other people didn't wake up today, but we're here. And so, yes, you were the very, very first episode, just so you know. You're the very first episode that we officially released. So definitely thank you so much for that. But yes, if anyone's interested, they can reach out to us. No person is too big or too small for us. We will communicate with anybody and everybody. We just want everybody to know that we've done it and you can do it and you're not alone.
Awesome. And now I want to hear about Jared's story. So tell me a little bit about how was your, childhood? Did you have a good childhood? What was it like growing up in Jared's world?
So, my mom had me at 15. She got pregnant with me at 14, had me at 15. My dad wasn't in the picture. she didn't really, she knew, but she didn't know. So we just kind of never went that route. And so I was born, my mom was 14, 15. She was doing her own thing. She's still obviously very young, so she didn't really know how to be a parent. In the very beginning, my grandmother thought it was best for them to abort me. And it, my mom said, no, can I keep the baby? And this is what we're doing. And they're obviously very grateful. So I wouldn't be here today. So she had me, again, at a very young age. I lived with I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I blocked a lot of it out, unfortunately. I remember there was a time that I lived with my grandparents from like 5 to like I was 8, just because my mom was still growing and she was with all of these abusive guys. And I remember we used to get physically abused, not by my mom, but by the gentleman that she was with. I was sexually abused the first time at 8 years old, by somebody, and I was shown pornography for the first time at 8 years old by the guy my mom was married to at the time. And you got to think, like, she's at work and you're depending on your husband to take care of your kids, and he's giving me a shot of whiskey at 8 years old, and introducing me into this whole world, which I didn't realize, excuse me, that was going to affect me as an adult. I really didn't, because it really did play a role in it going down the line. So basically, I ended up, my mom ended up divorcing that guy because, again, he was very, very abusive. And she ended up getting married to somebody else. Lo and behold, was a drug addict. He was abusive. He died when I was 13 years old, tragically. I watched him die before my eyes at 13, and it really messed me up. I was already smoking weed at that time, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, just what I was doing. And I went to live with my aunt at 13 because of everything. And I lived with my aunt from the time I was 13 till the time I was 17, 18 years old. So I graduated high school. Um, my family, unfortunately, has had a lot of sexual abuse and a lot of drug abuse, unfortunately. And that was something that, I was 16 years old when I got into my first motorcycle accident, and I broke several bones. And that was my first introduction to morphine and oxy and everything. And so um, that's kind of what ended up happening, leading me into, at 16 years old. But I really didn't start picking it up until my late 20s. Well, not my late 20s, but my mid 20s. I got my ex-wife pregnant at 18, and I was married for 12 years. Went through a divorce, but I had 3 kids, and through that time, through half of that marriage, I was a functioning addict. I went to work every day. I had a job. I was very successful, but I was basically living a double life. I was running with people I shouldn't be running with, and um, essentially getting sexually abused at such a young age, that did set it up for me as an adult. I didn't realize how bad it was going to affect me, but it really did. And we all know that in addiction, it always starts from something, some trauma. There's something that starts with it, and mental health and addiction go hand in hand.
Right.
So that really affected me to the point where all I did was just turn to drugs, to be able to cope.
And so
So
you were like you did well in school and everything, right? Did you have like a career? Because it sounds like you had a wife and career and child on one side, and then
yeah,
you had this kind of like monster hiding in the closet on the other side.
I mean, I did really good in school. I graduated high school really early. I only went to school for 2.5 years. I accelerated in school. I got out of school. My whole family has been in the construction industry, and so I learned as a teenager. I learned a lot of the trade. I was on job sites on weekends, and summer breaks. And so when I turned 18, I went into the field full time, and I was into the general construction trade. So I was able to move up fairly quick. To being running crews and supervisors and different things, just because of my experience. But yes, I was very successful. I traveled the United States for years, working. I ended up, again, I had 3 kids, and excuse me, the eventually yeah, eventually it all came out. It all comes out at one point or another. I
Mhm.
had everything that I could ever want. I was making more money than I could imagine, on the drug side. And I wasn't dealing with no street people. I really wasn't. Like I got involved with some people in the cartel that I shouldn't have got involved with. I'm half Hispanic. I speak Spanish. I was very well. I can go down to Mexico. I can, get in places that most people can't. And so I was a resource for them. And I went from having anything and everything to getting in debt, to having to sign over titles to my vehicles, to doing different things just to be able to pay off how I ended up getting in debt. Just as quick as you gain it is as quick as you can lose it.
Right. And what was your drug of choice?
So fentanyl and oxycodone. And so those were my things. I never dealt with heroin, even though fentanyl is worse than heroin. I never did that. I never did any of the stimulants. I never liked being stimulated, my heart racing or anything. So I was always a downer person. But for me, I could take fentanyl and oxy and I could go work like nothing ever happened. And so it was like a reverse effect for me.
Right, right. That's how it was for me too. It like gave me energy and like allowed me to be happy and productive and
I, was- I,
all of
I was having to use, about every 2 hours is what I was having to do.
Mm,
Just because I'm out in the sun, I'm sweating it all out.
right.
But I just, and I would use anywhere and everywhere. I would snort, the pills, and that's just what I did. And I didn't care who was around. I would make a way for it to happen.
So, what happened that you decided that you needed to do something different?
So, what ended up happening was, and I won't go into extreme detail just for safety reasons, but I happened to walk in on a situation where a mutual friend of ours was hogtied up with multiple guns to his heads by the same people I was working with, and because I walked in on it, they basically said, I had rented the hotel room in my name because since I traveled for so I always used to get discounts. So they had asked me, "Can you rent this?" And I said, "Yeah, for sure." Um, when I walked in on that, they basically said one of two things is going to happen: either A, he's going to die right here on the floor, or B, we're putting him in your truck. You're taking him to the desert, and that's what's going to happen. You know which one I had to do. So
Wow.
that scared me. I'm not going to lie. That scared me because if this was a guy who we hung out with every day. Now, granted, he messed up. He got really high. He tried to rip off the every that. Unfortunately, he caused that. But if this was somebody that was as close as we were all together, party every day, considered family, quote unquote, and they could do that to him, they could do it to me. And I'm not gonna lie, it scared the crap out of me. And I was like, that could be me. That could be me going out to the desert. And that's just so I decided to distance myself away at that point. I was still using, but I swapped to a completely different plug. And um, I just woke up one day and I said, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of waking up sick, chasing a high. I'm sick and tired of living this double life. Because again, I was doing things that I are unimaginable. And you know how that is in life, for our addiction. And I'm not happy about any of the things I've done. I'm very embarrassed of the things I've done. Some things I will tell you, be honest, and other things I'll take to my grave. That's just the way it's going to be. But at the end of the day, I was sick and tired of that life. I was sick and tired of waking up and hiding things. And I just wanted to be normal. We talked about this on our live that we had today. It was on step one of the 12 steps, and talking about how we had recognized our lives had become unmanageable. And I didn't wake up. None of us woke up and said we want to be drug addicts or alcoholics or anything. Unfortunately, it's what happened. But I was just like, I don't want this anymore. Something's got to give. So finally, I just said something's got to give, and I decided I don't want this no more. And now I've done it about 4 other times previous, but that time I was done. I was done 100%. I told my wife at the time, let's leave. I was born and raised in Phoenix. I said, let's pack up every single thing that we own and we're going to move to Texas. That's what we're doing. No job, no house, no family, no nothing. But moving 1,100 miles away, God strategically placed everything where it needed to be. So as soon as I got to Texas, house, job, this, that, it all fell into place. But that's what I needed to do. I needed to get out of Arizona just to be able to get the clean time because I was one of the, I couldn't do it in the same place I got sick in. Some people they can, but for me, I had to change my people, places, things.
Yeah, same. I did too. So you were talking about steps. So was your pathway 12 steps?
So no, it wasn't, to be honest with you. I didn't work the 12 steps until later in my recovery. My pathway was literally, I quit cold turkey. I locked myself in a room and I just completely, and kicking fentanyl, I don't know if you know, but kicking fentanyl, is horrible. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So for me, I just locked myself in a room. I moved to a completely different state. And I went to meetings. So I started going to Celebrate Recoveries through different, and those were through the churches, but that's what I had started doing. And never worked the steps, but I started just going to weekly meetings. And then, I just started, just working on myself at home. So again, it wasn't until a couple of years into my recovery where I decided, let me work the steps, but it was just dedication for me.
So you were talking about Celebrate Recovery. So is faith a big path, like part of your pathway? Is that like a big part of your recovery?
Yeah, yes and no. So um, my grandparents were very religious. So when I lived with them as a younger child, they would take me to church all the time, different things. And so I grew up in the church. At one point before my addiction really hit me, I was going to college to be a pastor. Like that's just something I had wanted to do. So don't get me wrong, God is very big in my life. He's very, very big in my life and very big in my pathway. But I don't do traditional church, but faith is very, very big in my walk. And I do know that the only reason I am alive today is because of God. And I, but anybody or everybody says that, try to tell me that there's not a God. Sure, just try to tell me through everything that we've been through hell and back. Just try to tell me that God doesn't exist. And so I'll never deny there's no, I'll never deny that God isn't there because he is there. And I may not live the way that I should, but at the end of the day, that's my personal walk with God.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So now life today. So I know that you have a career of some sort, and you also have plans to start a sober living facility too, in part in your goals and things like that. Do you still have good relationship with your children?
Like, okay, you froze up for a second.
Did I? Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
I heard what you're saying, but you had froze up, so I
Okay.
wanted to make sure you were good. Um, yeah. So, we kind of got two things going on. So we have the Blacklist podcast, which is this is this is a small, very, very small, believe it or not, with as much as we're doing, this is a small portion to our nonprofit. So Bonnie and I have a nonprofit, and it's called HD Recovery, and it's for Hope After Dope Recovery. So that is our 501c3. That's our actual nonprofit, which we're going to be opening up sober living homes with. We work with the like Bonnie, for instance, she works with the Santa Clara Health Department. She gets Narcan and a bunch of different supplies. She also speaks at different community events. I'm going to be doing the same in Arizona as well. Eventually, we're going to travel, do some speaking, but the Blacklist podcast really is a branch of HD Recovery. It's basically, it just kind of, we chose to do that first and get that out there to basically, get our name out there, let everybody know this is who we are, this is what we're doing. And it's kind of the media portion of our nonprofit, and that's kind of kind of how we set that up.
And so from there, you guys are gonna open up the sober living. And I love the name, Hope After Dope. That's awesome. I didn't know that that's what it stood for. So
Yeah,
that's super cool.
we're going to open up. We want to do multiple facilities. Even right now, we're going to just start with, we want to do one men's and one women's. We would like to do one in California, and and one in Arizona. Eventually, the goal is to partner with different people throughout the United States, and if they're serious about wanting to partner with us, maybe creating a branch out there in that state and opening up facilities in that state. So right now we'll just start in California and Arizona, and then if we're able to partner up with different people that have the same desires we do, then we can kind of let them oversee like that house. They can be the house manager there, you know.
Right.
And then eventually, but I don't care if this takes 15 years, eventually we want to have a treatment facility. We want to have a detox rehab treatment facility.
So like the medical side of it.
Yes.
Wow.
School right
So
now.
needed.
Yeah, she's going to school right now to become a counselor. And so Bonnie's gonna she'll be like our counselor on the side. I'll be honest, I don't really want to be in the counseling portion of it. I'd rather be in like the outreach portion of it. So I don't want to be in the office, you know. I'd rather be out there in the field, you know, doing the footwork. That's just where I feel that I belong.
Boots on the ground.
Yep. You know, again, I handle everything out on the field, and Bonnie handles a lot of stuff in house, you know, and she does. I tell you, this girl, she does so much. She's one of my best friends, and you know, the only reason that we are half of where we're at today is because of the amount of work that she puts in, and I'll always give her that credit for that. And I tell her, I'd say, Bonnie, I may have started this. I said, but this is just as much as yours as it is mine. Like we're in this together, just because she works so hard at what she does.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it'd be nice if we could do a couple medical facilities, and you know, I'm going to trust in God, and I'm going to believe that it's going to happen. I'm not saying if, it's going to happen one day. I'm going to claim it. I
Oh,
don't care
yes.
if it takes, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. I stand in agreement with you. I believe it's going to happen too, for sure. So, and so your life today, you still have good relationship with your children?
Yeah. So, they moved. So the reason I'm moving back to Arizona is because they did live here in Oregon. I'm really good friends with my ex-wife. We're very, very close. So we co-parent very well. And so they decided to move back to Arizona because that's where obviously she's from. And I decided to do the same because I can't really be away from my kids. Now I do know, you know, and I'll put it out there because when I made the decision and moved back to Phoenix, naturally a lot of the question came up, how's it going to work with your recovery? Because that's where I'm from, that's where I got sick. But at almost 4 years, I have it under my belt to where nothing's going to take that from me. And I'm just going to, if anything, it's just lights the fire to be able to continue to push forward. And, you know, the only reason I had to get out of my hometown at that time was I didn't have the stability, and I didn't have anything under my belt, so I could fall at any moment. Now that I have almost 4 years, I know I'm good. Like nothing is going to make me trip up or anything.
Right. You have all the tools that you learn from your pathway and your relationship with
And
God now.
exactly, and if anything, moving back there, I'm able to make a difference in the same community that I was running amok in. You know, I'm able to do that, and just maybe some people that used to see me as a monster and this and that, they're able to see me now on the flip side and see what I'm doing, and I'm
Right.
helping make an impact in this world.
Exactly. Now they're like, whoa, there really is a God. Look at Jared.
Right? No, and that's what I'm saying. You know, and so it's like,
Yeah.
so you know, that's just kind of where I'm at. Is I just want to be a light to others. I want to be. I want to help be a tool. I want people to know that this is who I am, and this is who God has made me to be, and that you can be the same way, you just got to just admit that you need the help and just move forward and just stick to it and accountability with it.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Jared. You're super inspirational. Your story is so much crazier than I was expecting.
And to be honest with you, it gets way crazier, but that's for a different time. But and I just want to throw out there real quick, going back to with the podcast. So so anybody and everybody can message me if you would like to share your story. But I do have a vision. My vision is to I'm going to start. I do have a vision to reach out, and I did share it with you briefly. Uh, I want to reach out to more bigger celebrities. I have people on my list. I have a list. Steve O from Jackass. Brandon Novak. I have all these people that I am reaching out to currently. We're trying to build some credibility up under us, but I want to be able to take it anywhere from the basic person, just like you and I, to the celebrity that chooses to come on board. And again, whether it takes me 2 or 3 years to prove and for them to come on, then I'm great. But I want to hear their stories just because I want people to know that it doesn't matter if you're successful or if you're just every day, addiction, it hits anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your status in life. It doesn't matter anything. And recovery also is for anyone and everyone. So whether you're like us or whether you're like Steve O or you're like The Rock or you're like Demi Lovato or you're someone like that, like their story is just as much as an impact as our story. I want to be able to bring that to the podcast. I want to be able to show that. So that is so if anyone knows anyone, and they would love to send them our way, please let us know. But we're here to help each other out. And again, we don't need to be in competition with one another. We just need to collaborate and just help each other out. I don't want the success to cloud someone's what their purpose is. I don't want them to be like, yeah, I got some followers now, and it completely changes their mentality. You got to be 100%, just as if you had nobody. And that's the way that we've been. If I died today, guess what? I know that we've reached one person. Okay, cool. I reached one person, so I'm okay with that. Now, so be it. If God allows us to reach tens of thousands, millions of people over the course of our lives and our careers, then so be it. But that's not the main purpose.
Right, right. Well, I have no doubt that you guys are going to be super successful. So I will put the links up in here. I'm going to put them up all through so you guys, everybody will know where to find the Blacklist podcast at. And I'm super excited. I can't wait to get Bonnie on here to tell her story too. We did a little bit of texting back and forth. We have some super similar stories. So I'm really, really excited to talk to her. And just thank you so much for coming on here and sharing and for everything that you do in our community. Super, super appreciate that. And thank you for your service.
Well, thank you so much. And the same with you too. Like just keep doing what you're doing. And believe it or not, you are a very big inspiration for us. And you and Sonia, and we're doing Sonia's episode tomorrow. So we're
Yay.
so you guys are very impactful for us. So thank you for reaching out and agreeing to work with us. And this is going to be the first of many together. So
absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
Well, for having me on. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Make sure you guys follow Jared and Bonnie, HD Recovery, and the Blacklist podcast, and subscribe to Jamietall on YouTube. And we will see you next time on Recovery Inspired Hope.